Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to a new Playful Humans podcast. It's our first one ever live. And we have a very special guest with us from Boardless. It's Acey Holmes. She is a play professional. She studies it. She helps teams play together. She helps conferences get more energized, excited, and engaged, and generally bored less in any of your events or meetings. You can find her at beboardless.com or solvelearnplay.com. I'll get there, Acey. Don't worry about it. Playful Humans is easy, though. If you want to find us, go to playfulhumans.com. And if you want to play along, go on YouTube right now. Let's do this thing. We're doing it live.
I know the word.
I don't know if there's a delay. On Zoom, there's a delay. But when we're live, are we singing along in time? All right, Acey, welcome to the podcast. I'm glad we finally get to do this, but we have to start with the official joke of the week. The joke of this week for December, because we're doing this live, is brought to you by Santa's Parking. Santa's Parking is always free because it's on the house. Now, did you hear about the extra toy testing they're doing this year? Apparently, There were some problems with the Tickle Me Elmo last year. So this year, before any leave the factory, each Tickle Me Elmo will get 2 test tickles.
Potentially more problematic. I do. My favorite joke is from when I was a child, so go with that. And I feel like it's a classic. How do you catch a unique rabbit?
A unique rabbit? I don't know.
Unique up on it.
Oh, nice. Of course you do. Yeah, for sure. And you made me think of one of my other favorite ones that I've heard recently. I think it's already been out on the podcast. But did you hear that Elton John got his rabbit a treadmill for Christmas? It's a little fit bunny.
That one's awesome.
All right. So let's start with you and your story, Acey. When you think about how you found play, what's the story? Have you always been fun, outside the box, creative thinker, or did you get bored and burnt out and have to rediscover this for yourself?
A little bit of both. So my background is working with small children. So as a teacher of the deaf, was my first job, and then I was a speech language pathologist, pediatric, and somebody just commented. This is like
yeah. We have people watching there. Thanks. Comments on Facebook. I appreciate it. You can chat LinkedIn, YouTube, anybody, Twitter. You can join the conversation because we're doing this one live. So don't let that distract you. I apologize.
Okay, all right. It threw me off for a little bit, but yay. So Sarah said, maybe Sarah's a speech pathologist too, but so I've always worked with young children, and my mission in speech pathology, I was a play-based therapist. So children learn best through play. That's hopefully common knowledge, even though I did have to fight that fight sometimes. But I actually never really considered myself creative until just a few years ago. I would often, even in my position, I would see other speech pathologists doing these things and making stuff, and it's artistic. And I was like, gosh, I'm not at all creative. And just kind of had that mindset for a really long time. But my family has been always very playful. There were a lot of board games. One of your episodes recently, somebody was talking about spoons and how their family was really, really hardcore spoons.
We had some epic spoons.
That was us too.
We had this move that I call splashing the pot, where like if instead of trying to sneakily grab a spoon, you just knock them all onto the floor, so everybody else has to dive off the table.
So our family
pick the first one up and chuck it into the living room, and then
our family always had them on the floor because it would get physical. Like we were physical. Blood has been drawn once or twice within my cousins. But yeah, so always been playful, and I just never. I don't know. I still say it on accident sometimes. I wasn't in a creative field. I just never considered myself creative. And now that I started to really study it on a bigger level, I realize I am quite actually creative. So, yeah,
I
so
think
that's
you
where the
gotta
play.
define what creative is, because for me, I always kind of had a logical mind. I picked up
Yeah,
computers really fast, was good in math and science, and I didn't feel like I was great at writing because I was dyslexic, and I didn't feel like particularly drawn to the arts or coloring inside the lines. It wasn't something that
same,
came naturally to me. So I thought I wasn't creative because I couldn't take a blank sheet of paper and turn it into something.
same, same.
But it turns out that like creative problem solving is very creative, thinking uniquely about ways to do things. And I think sports helps me a lot with
Oh,
creativity, which might sound odd to people, but you're basically in, basketball or soccer, a sport that's going nonstop. You're having a creative problem solve the whole time.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
looking for unique ways around things and trying to solve the problem and accomplish the goal. And I think that
It's
that
very
helps.
iterative. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that because I think a lot of people are the same way. We fall into the trap of the culture says you have to hustle, work hard, or be serious to get ahead, and then we find that like that might work for a little while, but it doesn't necessarily make you happy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't give you like all-star status success because
Right.
um, you only get so much you're or so far with that, and then your value's limited because you're like everybody else. If you want to go skyrocket your success, you got to really be unique in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not sustainable. Like the hustle culture, you're exhausted and you'll burn out. A
Yeah,
lot of
I think a
stories.
lot of people underestimate that a lot too, how much people slow down and really stop producing. And I know companies complain about that, but I don't think it's really that they're bad employees or anything else. Is you haven't kept them growing, learning, stretching, using their best selves. And so if you're in a job for 7, 10, 20 years, you're going to run out of new ideas if you don't keep getting fresh inputs or getting out away from the desk and out of meetings and learning new things in other areas, right?
Yeah. And companies are talking about that a lot. And this whole concept of like quiet quitting,
Yeah.
a lot of people just say is just doing your job. So quiet quitting's only for individual contributor level, employee level. When leadership quiet quits, they're finding themselves. They're like, they're
Yeah.
seeking higher meanings.
Sabbatical
Like you're
or something.
doing the same thing. You're just realizing you're burnt out. It's the same across all the levels.
Yeah, I think there is some interesting stuff there because it was the great resignation and it was companies' faults. And then companies
Right.
realized they have better marketers. So we'll call it quiet quitting instead. And so like
Put the
if
blame on
you
them.
you if you leave, I guess it was the company's fault. But if you stay, somehow that's your fault.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't understand. That seems maybe backwards or something there. And
Yeah.
I think the whole quiet quitting thing gets a bad rap too because of the name quitting. And we have this
Yeah.
negative association with quitting that isn't always bad. If,
Right.
I train salespeople, quitting chasing somebody who's never going to buy from you is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Go find
Yeah.
somebody who loves what you do, who can't wait to buy it and who wants to pay
Yeah.
your full price. Like quit
Yeah.
doing stupid stuff for people who don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's probably a good call.
Yeah.
But I think on the other hand, um, finding balance in yourself and resting and recharging enough to bring your best self to work the next day is not quiet quitting.
Right.
Uh, when these work hours were invented 120 years ago with Ford, you got to quit at 5 o'clock and go have dinner with your family and rest and recover. And you didn't have to check email or be on call
Right.
or think about your job the next day. You got to disconnect. And
Yeah.
so now I think you got to give people space to do that intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. And the I think a big difference now is that we have one thing that's different from, Henry Ford and Industrial Revolution and all that stuff, but we are finding that it is possible to find meaning in your work no matter what it is. If you're soldering a computer chip or if you're, strategic mind coming up with the next best new thing. Um, and realizing that sometimes work, I don't think we're anywhere close. We see the articles of 4-day work weeks and some countries are doing that and even some
Yeah.
school districts, but I don't think we're close to making that normalized. So realizing that we are still spending the majority of our time at work, potentially in an office or in front of a computer at some point, but being able to go, wait, even though this is just a function and like what I'm doing, yes, maybe a robot could do it, but finding the meaning in it is so possible now. That's part of what I like to try to share with people and teams. So
Yeah, I think for me, it's interesting because we are getting there. The pandemic helped a lot with remote work and stuff, but it sometimes causes as many problems as it relieves. So, if the commute was a struggle, it's great you don't have to waste that hour every day, but that was also your transition time. So you had this pregame ritual where you're going to the office and you're getting yourself mentally ready, and then you have this letting it go where you can't check your
yes.
email and stuff on your drive home. And so you had this time to kind of decompress and get back into your family life. And when your commute's a couple of flights of stairs, that same transition
Right.
doesn't happen. And so I think all that's really interesting. The 4-day work weeks are really interesting. I think also for creative professionals and stuff, I've really been diving into these different types of work that you mentioned. If it's like a factory job and there's work where the more you do it, the more output you produce, then great. Sometimes time and hours put in and an hourly bill rate makes sense.
Right.
But if you're doing creative work or emotional work or trying to connect with another human being, like in sales or customer service, which are 70% of the jobs out there, then it's usually diminishing returns. You can't bring the same energy to your 100th call as you can your first call of the day. So at
Right.
some point, you're going to be emotionally drained and you're going to give bad service or make bad mistakes in sales or leadership. And so I think we have to realize that like 65 hours doesn't make a better customer service rep than 40 hours, right?
Right. Did you talk about it recently on your podcast? I know I was read an article recently too. I mean, there's a bunch of research behind working longer at something is actually worse. And
Yeah. Oh, it
that,
definitely. More
yeah,
than 6 weeks in a row was the official study, and it was
yeah,
we're a computer programmer, so that's an intellectually draining task. But their lines of code went down so much if they were working more than 65 hours that they would have produced more if they had just
right,
stopped and worked 40
yeah,
hours
yeah,
for those six
yeah,
weeks. I think that's crazy. The other one that's crazy to me is um, there are some things that have backwards laws that the more effort you put in, the less likely you are to get results. And so I think that's the ones that really screw people up is sometimes like trying to make somebody love you. The more
yeah.
you do that, the less likely it is to happen or fall
Trying to fall
asleep. And
asleep.
so
Yep, yeah. That's
same
the big
thing
one.
in sales again. It's coming up a lot today, but um, the more you try to sell somebody, the less likely they are to
Yep,
buy. It just
yeah,
you get commission breath. They step back and they push away from you. And so
yeah. If your only purpose is truly just to make the sale for the sake of the
right.
sale for the number.
And if you're looking at helping people and pulling them in and giving them space to be enthusiastic and come towards you, then
Yeah,
that's a different game. But that's what I'm saying. Like more effort there
right.
doesn't necessarily solve your problem, or more hours put in following up
Yeah,
with somebody who isn't ready to make a decision doesn't make your sale more likely.
yeah,
And in
yeah.
sales, we usually find that there are people that work smart and hard and hustle,
Mhm.
but the majority of top salespeople are like playing golf and hitting happy hour on Friday. They're
Right,
not like smiling and dialing at
right,
4:59 p.m. on Friday or
right.
into the weekend. Right.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you specifically about meetings because that's one of the things you do and team connecting and building. So for leadership, what would you recommend is the power of play here and how maybe bringing in some things that seem frivolous actually are the most important things to do?
Yeah. Um, so I like to start with my clients with quite a bit of education. It's always playful education. Everything's interactive, but helping people understand what play can do for the mind, um, I think is really transformational in them understanding it. So rather than just saying, "Hey, get somebody to do improv before your next strategy session," or um, I don't know, play a game, start with ping pong. who knows, all these things that are being done a lot around. So I like to start with more of that educational standpoint and helping them understand that what play is, because I think that's really confusing. You've talked about that before. And I also know Lisa Forbes and David Thomas, who, if you asked all of us what is play, we'd all say something different. So helping the corporate world understand that play is personal, play is, it can be different. It's iterative. And it can be almost anything you want it to be if your purpose is the right purpose. So always starting with that, and then bringing to less so of like a meeting activity necessarily. Like there can be activities, sure, but bringing teams together and showing them what it means to live a playful life as an adult, and bringing in, I've been studying recently Renee Proyer's work. He's somewhere overseas and I cannot remember the country right now, but he has whittled down a ton of research on personal play identity, and looking at there's validation work within it and questionnaires, and it's, showing up that what people are saying about their personal play identity is really showing in their behavior and that kind of thing. So grasping that concept and helping people understand that, again, play is different for everyone, but if you can just embrace that playfulness in the way you talk to someone, or the way you write an email, or the way you carry out a meeting, it doesn't have to be an activity within itself, but just thinking playfully on a bigger picture. So then if we have teams who are all comfortable in their own personal play identity, and then potentially a team identity, which is kind of where I'm hoping Renee Proyer goes with his work, because I would like to see that too. I think it would be interesting. Then we have just completely different corporate worlds, right? So we've got integrity being shown in behavior, in the way we're talking to each other, in our language, from the top down. And then managers see that from above them, and they're going to translate that in, and then employees feel instantly valued because everybody's on an equal playing field.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something there for me, and I would love to hear what other people think in the comments and stuff too. But for me, what I heard there is creating a safe space for your people to do their best work. And it's with a playful mindset that if you're stressing everybody out and you have to have an answer and everything is life and death and everything is an emergency and last minute, your brain locks down. These stress hormones like cortisol shut everything down, and it narrows your focus. And you're just looking for that one right answer to survive. And you can't get into that playful state. It locks out all of those other options for you. And if you can create this safe space with your team and with individual personalities, and giving them a chance to fail and learn and grow, or throw out bad ideas, then you start to open up that mind and you get good endorphins and good stress going, where you're like, oh, let's throw some things out that might not work, and let's learn more about that. And I think it's really interesting that way, just that you would think, like, if you really need an answer, it's like one of those backwards laws. The first thing you have to do is let go of all of that pressure. You have to say, all right, we're not going to find one. Let's find a plan B. Let's walk away from this, go for a walk, jump in the shower, put on some tunes and take a dance break or something. And you're more likely to come up with an answer if you do that than if you're like, let's lock everybody in a room. Nobody's leaving.
Right.
Coffee's for closers. Nobody gets anything until we have an answer. You're really, really less likely to get a result.
It's so limiting. It's so limiting. That's what, the whole concept of, and this has been done for decades, right? Like the brainstorming session, there's no bad ideas. Okay, but you're also, the rest of the work day, you're telling your employees constantly, yes, those are all bad ideas. Don't come to me with that. So you have to change it really from the cultural standpoint within the organization.
So I'm wondering if you have any specific ideas about this, because I know you and I both know a ton of different exercises. I'll share one of my favorites is wrong answers only. So we were talking about this with a friend of mine yesterday. We were talking about family and like a marriage workshop. If you were going to have a marriage workshop, what would be the worst possible title you could come up with? It was like wrong answers only. And we are thinking, well, like how to get divorced and lose
In 10
custody
days.
of your kids. And we're
Right.
like, well, actually, that's a pretty interesting workshop. Like there's something there to that. When you go for the wrong answers, you actually find edges that become more interesting. Or you go, okay, well, we just flip that. How to not
Right.
get
Yeah.
divorce and lose custody of your kids. That's what we really want to know. Or
Yeah.
how to have a loveless marriage and um, be equitable roommates for the rest of your life. I'm like, okay, well, let's think about what makes that scary or what makes that bad, and you can translate that into something else. But if you're only saying like, what's the best possible title, what's
Right.
the
Yeah.
clickbaitiest, most
Yeah.
crazy thing you can come up with, it's not going to sound good. Do you have any other brainstorming or team building or just ways to like get into that mindset?
So my sort of my philosophy is really traditional play based, like back to your childhood roots kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a big fan of movement, getting people moving, but it doesn't always have to be like actual dance. Ah, nice. I love it. I'm not at my home. I can't show my mini fix
Your
at home.
Lego person. I know we both, when you
Yeah.
thought of that, I thought like Legos, toys, like building
Yep.
anything to
Yeah.
distract your kind of mind
Yeah.
and hands for
Yep.
a minute really helps. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So one of my favorite recommendations for offices when they're open for it, especially like ones that have like the ping pong table in the office that probably nobody plays, is to replace it with a Lego table. So, and this is in the hallway, not in the break room, out in the middle of the floor, like a lot of companies have those sometimes nice open plan spaces. At least there's sort of a common area or something that's not necessarily the break room though. So, and just an open it's not a kit. It's not a new kit put out each day. You have no idea what you're going to build. Maybe you don't have to build something in particular. To be completely honest, one of my favorite things to do with Lego bricks is to sort them by color and size.
I mean,
So
it's
back
good.
to
That's
that
a
logical brain we were talking about, right? And so this is part of why I didn't think I was creative for so long, because I would rather just do that. But the important part for organization is that, Sarah, the CEO, needs to be seen at the table, so, and then associate sales director like needs a break, and Sarah, the CEO, is there, and they go and build a house next to Sarah's tree or whatnot. So that's one of my favorite things.
Love that. Sandy says that puzzling works
Yeah.
well for problem solving, team building, and distraction, all of the
Yeah,
above.
puzzles are great.
And Lauren had a good question here, which I
I was
feel
gonna
like
say,
everybody comes up with, is suggestions for integrating play when things are super busy. And I feel like that I'm stealing the mindfulness quote, but like if you don't have time to meditate for 5 minutes, you need 50 minutes. And so
right. Yeah.
I think there are tiny play breaks and you can start, working things maybe around the edges. But I would also say that when things are super busy, that's when you're stressed and you're limiting your creativity. You actually need to step away. So my suggestion, then I'll ask you, Acey, is build play into the stuff that you're already doing. So think about how you can be playful in the task that you're trying to accomplish. And then 2, you would be surprised when you make time for play, you actually get more productive when you come back. And so it's not really about trading time for dollars.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So to what you were saying, you have to, then that's why I like to start with the education of it when I work with an organization, because it's not just about what activities can you do. It's about how you're changing the mindset of everyone leading up to that super busy moment. And I think play and meditation are actually pretty similar in a lot of ways. The more you do it, the better you're at it. The less you do it, the longer it takes to get back into it. And then, but also the concept of, so sort of, one of the points of meditation is being able to stop in the moment when it is stressful and use your breathing and think about, how am I reacting to this in the moment? Can I let go of this thought? So same thing with play. So now you're approaching a stressful situation and you're going, okay, can I lose my cool here? Or can I take a moment? Can I spin this to be a little bit playful? And then, you have a completely different situation, right? And then that's another reason I really like Proyer's personal play identities, is because it helps people realize how they can react in those situations in a more playful way, because it's really different for people. So one of the play identities is called other directed. And so that's your Chandler, right, from Friends. So we've got, Chandler from Friends, and some of it can be viewed negatively, but because he would deflect his feelings, right? And there's a lot of those people. But also being in the moment and being able to take a stressful moment and making somebody laugh just for a second, that's one thing. But that's not the way everybody can do it. You can also, there's an intellectual play identity. So be aware of the aspects of the activities that you like enjoy. Yes, yeah. Knowing how you can take a moment and turn it into something that you enjoy is completely possible in literally every business aspect. So knowing that when you're looking at your schedule or your team's up this project you guys just signed on with and going, we're going to be so busy. And then going back to what you said before too, like, it's not wasting time. You're not trading the time by spending time, investing your time in that play, because then what happens afterwards is going to be better and more efficient.
I just think about that as like energy management. So I know if I'm super busy doing ththings that I love that give me energy, that's okay. If I'm super busy with other tasks that I've been sick this week. I got this like my 4th virus this year. If it's not stuff you enjoy, then I love what Tony said there. Mix in stuff that you do love. Find out what can you delegate and get rid of that buys you more time to do that, and lean into those strengths. But we are almost out of time. Are you ready to play a game?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. Here we go. All right, spinning our wheel of games. There are 10 games that it could land on, and you got awkward questions. Awkward questions are the would you rather kind of questions. We'll see how awkward we can make it here for you, Lacey. First, what would you rather give up, fruits or vegetable?
Fruit. Yep, fruit. I would much rather have vegetables. I'm a savory kind of person.
Wow, I would go the other way on that. For sure. I eat way more fruits than vegetables.
You can butter and salt a vegetable to the point of not even knowing it's a vegetable anymore.
But can you juice it? There's no orange juice at breakfast and stuff.
You can juice carrots.
I'll let you have the carrot juice for breakfast. What would you rather have living in your attic? Your significant other's parents or a poltergeist, a ghost?
A mean ghost, or a poltergeist always mean ghost?
Doesn't say. No. I feel like there's good spirits.
I'll take a spirit. And that has nothing to do with my in-laws. I love my in-laws.
Yeah, it's live on Facebook. Nice recovery there. It could be an awkward Christmas dinner here.
They don't want to live in my attic either, though, right? But a ghost is fun. Ghosts are like, turn the lights off. Oh, Jimmy.
Jimmy the ghost.
My poltergeist name is Jimmy.
That's super fun. Oh, we got some people playing along.
Oh, nice.
No to
come on,
carrots. Sarah. And Ghost as well. Lauren's with us. All right, last one. I can't ask that one.
Oh no.
If you were a struggling film producer, which project would interest you more? A documentary about marine animals or an NC-17 film with no plots?
No plot. The documentary, marine animals. I was one of those kids who was like, I want to be a marine biologist. I made my 4th grade class to adopt a manatee. We lived in North Carolina and had manatees.
Yeah, I'm not much for underwater. Sarah said, ask it. I was wondering if I could. It was, I lost it here. I'll give you the one that I did not do, just for fun. and we'll see if we cut this out of the recorded podcast that goes up, on the streams for everybody here. But it was, would you sit on a tiny cactus for a new convertible? It was assuming bare butt sit on a tiny cactus for a new convertible.
I actually don't like convertibles, so no.
No, I'm going to say no either. I got a car. I'm not that into it. But I like it. You did it. You nailed it. You successfully completed our trivia challenge, which means the rest of the time here is yours. The podcast is yours. Anything that we can do to help you or you can do to help us?
I would love to connect on socials. I am fairly active, not like daily stuff, on Instagram. It's Be Boardless on Instagram, and then on LinkedIn, if you would follow the company, that'd be amazing. And I just really enjoy networking. So anybody that wants to chat, I'm up for it. Not a sell, not a pitch. I mean, if you know of somebody who might be a potential client, send them my way. But I just like meeting new people. So.
Yeah, I love that. Again, like event energizers, team facilitation that you need, or if you're just personally like looking to have more fun and be bored less, go to beboardless.com or solvelearnplay.com as Acey's other website for the work that she does. All the links will be in the show notes. And until next time, I would say, whatever you are, be a good one. If you can't be good at it. That always helps. If you want to take our playfulness quiz and discover your playful personality that Acey mentioned there, we have a great quiz. There's also a burnout quiz. It's brand new on the website, so you can see how burnout you are. Are you medium rare? Are you well done? Go find that out. And, go out there and play. Go find something that makes you happy. We'll see you next time.
Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine and go out and play.
Go play, everybody.